our future home and our now home, the View. Let's give a round of applause to the View. Well, I think personally thank Sarah and Christy for making this happen. I gave Sarah the challenge to make this happen, and we're in our first meeting with a great set of speakers. Record crowd. If you look around, this is the largest group we've had ever this very year. 144 people signed up, so you're here for our guests. Today is the National Day of Mourning for President Jimmy Carter, and I wanted to have a quick memorial for him. As you know, 39th President of the United States, Governor of Georgia, State Senator from Georgia, and as important as all of those is he's a Rotarian. I don't know if you knew that, but he is a Rotarian. It's been for many, many years. And I wanted to state some words that were actually from the Granada Hills, California Rotary Club. It's in LA, so it's kind of fitting that this club right now is probably struggling, and we're going to represent them and lift their hearts up for President Jimmy Carter. I'll have a quick notes, and then we'll have 1 minute of silence for President Carter. Today we honor the life and legacy of Jimmy Carter, the 39th President of the United States and a fellow servant of humanity. President Carter exemplified the Rotary motto of service above self through his unwavering commitment to peace, humanitarian efforts, and community service. As a Rotarian, he inspired countless individuals to dedicate themselves to the betterment of others. His work with the Carter Center and Habitat for Humanity will forever serve as a beacon of hope and compassion. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Carter family during this time. May his legacy continue to guide us in building a better, more peaceful world. Rest in peace, President Carter. I will now chime the bell, and then we'll have 1 moment of silence, and then I'll bring it again. Thank you for President Jimmy Carter, and we will now go to our scheduled program where we have the a cappella of the national anthem. I'm going to hand over the mic.
Oh, say, can you sing by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rent the air, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night
for the four-way test and invocation.
Thank you, President Eric. Let us pray. Lord, let your spirit be with us today as we meet in the new year in a new place for the Cincinnati Rotary Club. We are thankful for the development of our city and for the vision and optimism of our leaders, for all the new growth and new projects. And we thank you for our sports teams, for the athletes who give us the example of hard work and competition and of following the rules of the game. Help us to see how we may help our city grow in prosperity and justice. Amen.
Amen.
And we'll now do the four-way test, but since we have a French table today, and since we are Rotary International, we will do the four-way test in French. So I will ask the questions, and you will say yes in French. And how do we say yes in French?
Oui.
And why are you all not sitting at the French table? Le critère des 4 questions. Chaque Rotarien doit donc se poser ces 4 questions en fonction de ce qu'il pense, dit ou fait.
Oui.
That was a statement. Alors, maintenant les 4 questions. Est-ce conforme à la vérité?
Oui.
Est-ce loyal de part de l'autre?
Oui.
Est-ce susceptible de stimuler la bonne volonté réciproque et de créer de meilleures relations amicales?
Oui.
Est-ce profitable à tous les intéressés?
Oui.
Merci beaucoup.
You can be seated now.
So when are we going to start the German table? A lot of Germans in Cincinnati. Ich kann Deutsch sprechen.
We want to recognize all of our guests today. We have a record crowd of guests. With that, we're going to turn it over to Dan Long, who's going to announce. And please raise your hand when you're called.
What a great day to be a Rotarian. We are batting 100%. We have 23 guests that showed up, that signed up, and 23 guests that have appeared. So what a show. So as Eric said, please do hold your applause till the end. And guests, please just kind of wave to the crowd. Starting out in first position is Andrea Jean Rozek with Changing Ground Project. She's here with Janet Metzler. Brandon Wheatley is with Imperial Mortgage Broker, brought here by Josh Vogel. Candace Huff with Republic Bank, brought here by Melinda Kelly. Cecilia Mainzier, Arco General Contractor, Michael Schatzman. Christina Shepard with Imperial Mortgage Broker, Josh Vogel. Emily Croft with the Cincinnati Chamber Leadership Center, somebody by the name of Michael Schatzman. Eric Brown with Eric Brown CPA, Bill Stillick. Erica Almquist with DPL Law, she's in their marketing department, Michael Schatzman. Josh McKee with Heartland Bank, Mike Fitzgerald. Kedrick Duval, Imperial Mortgage Brokerage, Josh Vogel. Kevin Berding with Compass Strategies, Scott Hobart. Latonia Springs with the Home Housing Opportunities Made Equal, Michael Schatzman. Marissa Gouldsby with the Red Cross, Stephanie Bird. Mark Sands, Vista Bank, brought here by Michelle Edwards, who is an East Side Rotarian. Matt Mangini with One Shot Foundation. Josh Vogel. Michelle Edwards, as I said before, she is with Vista Bank, and she is a visiting Rotarian from the east side of Cincinnati. Nicole Sims, Bold Career Consulting, Michelle Starr. Chris Califoot, retired, the Industrial Commission of Ohio, Jim Crowley. Sheena Parton, Huff Relocation, Michelle Starr. Shelby McLaughlin, Arco General Contractor, Michael Schatzman. Tyler Menak, Hamilton County Public Health Department, Michael Schatzman. Steve Saunders, retired from the Cincinnati Police Department, and he is currently the Sales Director of Angel Aerial Systems, Jim Neidhart. And we have a guest of Julie Calvert from Visit Cincinnati, Eileen Osborne. Thank you so much for coming.
We hope that you all consider becoming Rotarians. This will be your new home venue in the future. I want to call up meeting sponsor Scott Hoberg. The meeting sponsor program is an important way for you to present your company or your nonprofit to Rotary Club. We appreciate the donation, and we appreciate the sponsorship of Scott Hoberg, who's a vital part of our club. Thank you.
Thanks, President Eric. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Scott Hoberg, and I'm an attorney at Wood & Lamping, and we're honored today to sponsor the May meeting of the Corporate Roundtable about driving growth in our region. If you're starting 2025 facing challenges or growth opportunities in your business, your organization, or your family, we're here to help you out. I'm happy to speak with any of you afterwards. Let me know. Our website's woodenlamping.com. I want to get this thing on track so you guys can hear from our fabulous panel here today. So thank you.
Well, we want to call up Chad Nieder from Allocations Committee of the Rotary Foundation of Cincinnati to give out grants. It's always good to give out money, and I'm going to hand it over to Chad. And also, if you're a grant recipient, if you could come up to the front as well.
Thank you, President Eric. So the Allocations Committee had a record number of applications this round. We had 34 applications, the most in many, many years. So we are awarding 2 grants this cycle. We're giving one of our largest grants in recent history to the Cincinnati Parks Foundation for $10,000. And we're giving $5,000 to the School of the Deaf. Unfortunately, Angela Firth, the president of St. Rita's School, had to turn around on her way, had a bit of an emergency back at the school. So she cannot join us. But the St. Rita's project will provide for the purchase of a new audio meter to replace the current 20-year-old equipment. The school audiologists will use this upgraded equipment to provide spectrum hearing services to all students. So a significant upgrade to technology with this new meter. And for the Cincinnati Parks grant, this grant is supporting a partnership with Children's Hospital. The Be Well program offers 6 recreational activities held outdoors in Cincinnati parks to children with physical disabilities. Activities include hiking, martial arts, yoga, and the Rotary favorite, pickleball. So Colleen O'Connor, program officer, and Jen Buchholz, the communication director, are here to join us today. Jen?
Thank you so much. It's such an honor. A little bit about the Parks Foundation. We're the philanthropic partner to Cincinnati Parks, and really our mission is to do more in parks so that you can do more in parks. I think 90% of Cincinnatians live within a 10-minute walk of a park, so part of our mission is to make sure that they are accessible and welcoming to everyone, which is why this partnership with Cincinnati Children's is so important to us. Every year we bring about 500 kids and their families into parks, many of them who would not necessarily be able to come into a park today. We help them, introduce them to activities that they can do in parks so that they can be active, and we can really start to pursue wellness in these special populations. Our hiking program is going on right now, so if you're interested in seeing some of what we do, you can join us at Stanbury Park at 10. On Saturday, we will be hiking in the snow. And there's really no more rewarding program than to see kids gain these new skills in our park. So thank you so much for the grant. We are really honored.
Thanks, Chad. And the Rotary Foundation of Cincinnati is open for business. Brett LeVar, if you could raise your hand, is the current president. If you want to make a donation to the Rotary Foundation of Cincinnati, please reach out to Brett and he will work with you on that process. We have announcements for this week. Just as a reminder, the next week we have Dr. Florence Rothberg, who's going to cardiologist, discuss updates there, and please sign up by 5 o'clock on Friday through DAC-DB. And as far as announcements, we do have one committee meeting after this meeting in the ballroom, four-way test speech contest, and we do want to celebrate some birthdays today. January was a busy month for birthdays. We have Teddy Kramer on the 8th, Bob Taft on the 8th, Nessa McGuire, who's here. You can raise your hand on the 9th. We have Dolores Dawson on the 9th as well, Andy Megenheim on the 12th, Drew Emmert, who's here on the 13th, and Mark Smith on the 13th. We can give everyone in attendance a happy birthday on 3. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday! Now we come up to our big point of today, to split the pot, which I know is going to be quite large today, so there's a big crowd. I want to have Mayor Aftab select the... You want to take it? It is a red ticket. All right. You want to call it out?
31452-387. 387. Oh, winner! What is he winner? Oh, split the pot. So yeah, how much? $25. Congratulations.
You know it's official. The mayor says it's official, right?
Let's spend it all in one place.
All right.
He's not.
Oh, wait, is it in there?
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
You weren't
All
even
right.
close.
Queen Heart is still on the deck. The family of Rotary, New Cincinnati Rotary Manny Addo is honored and privileged to share that the 30th of October was declared as the Manny Addo Day in Cincinnati during his trade summit. He received a proclamation from Ohio Governor Mike DeWine. Is Manny here? Stand up. Congratulations. Congratulations. A few dates to remember. Help the residents at St. Joseph Home, a recent Rotary Foundation allocation recipient, with craft making next Tuesday, January 14th from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Looking for 10 volunteers to help these residents. Contact Hands On Service chairs Brian Bowling or Michelle Starr with questions. Now that you're both here, you can raise your hands. Brian, Michelle, reach out to them after the meeting. Our Rotary Red Light Holiday Table is next Saturday, January 18th, from 6 to 8:30 at the Metropolitan Club. The cost is just $30 a person. Please email Christy, and she will send you the invoice. We're expecting a record crowd for that. Should be a great event. Club 17 is looking for members to help with President-elect Lisa Lickert's Marketing Task Force. This is a group of doers. If you are interested in helping the Marketing Task Force, please reach out to Lisa Lickert if you are interested. And I wanted to personally let you know that we are thrilled to launch a new membership development initiative inspired by the large club conference. Each month, we will host a lunch with corporate prospective members who we believe would make excellent Rotarians. We invite you to recommend individuals you personally know who would benefit from connecting with 8 or other tri-state leaders in our club leadership. Simply send the names to Sarah, and we'll take care from there. Thank you for helping us grow our Rotary family. Each meeting is going to be in the last Friday of each month. We'll have one in January, and we'll have that through June, hoping to bring in more corporate members. Without that, I will turn it over to Doug for today's program.
Thank you, President Eric, and thanks again to the Corporate Roundtable, who are the sponsors of today's meeting. I see Kelly Collison and Belinda Kelly, Bob Will, I don't know if you're here, but thanks for the planning committee and all of your work. I'm going to ask the panel to come on up and grab a seat and get the microphones in place. Let's do boy, girl. So, Julie in the middle. And Julie, I'm going to give you the mic. And I'll give the mayor the mic to start out. So, Thriving Cincinnati. I bet all of you know these 3 individuals, but just in case there is someone who's a groundhog and doesn't know these 3 people, these 3 rock stars in our community. I know Julie Calvert the best because I hired her 25 years ago to be my news editor at the Business Record. She was a rock star news editor, but then she decided to break my heart and go into the public relations business. But she did a fabulous job there, and then for 20 years has been in the destination marketing business. She's the CEO since 2018 of what is now called Visit Cincy. Let's give Julie a big round of applause. Jeff Berding, probably the second most well-known person on this stage, is longtime Cincinnati Bengal executive that at his kids' urging, they're not football fans, they were soccer fans, he started looking at trying to figure out if Cincinnati can support a soccer franchise, and with the help of Carl Lindner, they co-own FC Cincinnati. Been doing that since 2015. And then we are very proud to have gracing our stage today at the Rotary Club of Cincinnati, the 70th mayor, I can't fathom, the 70th mayor of Cincinnati, son of first generation Americans, first Asian American mayor. I love his Instagram hashtag, which is, I'm funnier in person. So we'll see if that's true. He made his name in politics in this community when he became the first Democrat in 100 years to run the Hamilton County Clerk's office, and of course was elected mayor and began serving 3 years ago. This panel discussion is about thriving Cincinnati. So I thought I'd give the mayor the first opportunity to kind of talk about, hey, we are thriving. What is it that he's doing that's getting us to be thriving? And how's he going to keep it going? Mayor?
Thank you, Rotarians. Oh, thank you so much. I always love being with Rotarians. I first got introduced to the local club through the 4-way test competition. And as someone who really is passionate about public speaking, it's always a pleasure to go to that and also to be with all of you. And thank you so much to my co-panelists, Julie and Jeff, who do outstanding work on behalf of the entire region. You know, I'm so excited to talk about growth and where Cincinnati is right now because as I was talking to some of the audience members before we started the program, we really are on the precipice of what I think can be a golden age for our city. Something similar to what we experienced, several decades ago when we were really firing on all cylinders. And this is the culmination of really a several-decade plan. I'm lucky enough to be mayor of Cincinnati, but particularly in this moment, where mayors and in partnership with civic leaders made some hard decisions in order to put Cincinnati into this position. You know, as mayor, you inherit a lot, both successes and frustrations, and I'm really fortunate that I inherited a city that was really already on the rise. You know, there's a lot of different reasons for it, but going back, 20 some odd years ago now with the creation of 3CDC, where our corporate leaders and our political leaders came together and just started with 2 blocks in Over the Rhine, one of our most depressed and violent communities at the time. And 20 years later, the reason we are on the short list for Sundance, the International Film Festival, to potentially come here and be a game changer for us, is because they're attracted to the density, the preservation of Italianate architecture, and the walkability of Over the Rhine. So when you think about growth, it's of course the things that we're doing now, but so much of it is on the back of leaders like Charlie Lucan and Mark Mallory and John Cranley, who didn't give up, who kept fighting for our urban core, kept investing, kept relying on our corporate partners, and now we're in a position to, not just be lucky to be on the world stage, but to belong there. We are a destination. And it's not just rhetoric. Our population continues to grow because of all of the assets that we have, civic assets, and because, we're home to some of the largest, most successful companies in the world. The largest consumer products companies here in Procter & Gamble, the largest grocer in the country is here in Kroger, one of the most important commercial aircraft companies in the world, GE Aerospace, is headquartered right here in our region. The #1 children's hospital is in Cincinnati, in the world. That's not rhetoric. Those are data and facts and stats. And so with that recipe of incredible strength and talent in our city, we should be winning the next decade. We should be winning the next couple of decades. And the decisions that we are making right now that it's my turn to be mayor, are really focused on our urban core, making sure that the issues that we've been kicking the can down the road on, we're actually making hard decisions in order to preserve that growth moving forward. But I'd love to get into the details of that. The last thing I'll say is, what's really exciting about the population growth that has continued to move forward is that in the past, when Cincinnati's population has grown, it's because people from smaller cities are moving to the big city. Now we're seeing that a disproportion of the people moving to Cincinnati right now are coming from larger cities. So this idea that we are a perfect balance of big city resources at affordable prices is really, really striking true. And as you see the wildfires on the west coast of the country and the droughts and the floods and the hurricanes in the Gulf, we are seeing an inward migration, and it is my goal to make sure that those people moving inward into the country are choosing Cincinnati as their destination.
Thank you, Mayor. So we have 4 topics that we had picked to discuss with them, but we want to make sure we get to your questions. So you're going to feel like I'm interrupting these folks, and they've given me some grace to be able to do that. We're going to keep the conversation moving. So a $4 billion Brent Spence project, $350 million FC Cincinnati project, and a $800 million convention center district project, and then this fun little project that's getting a lot of news coverage lately, the arena. We'll be talking about that. What is that? 600 million, 800 million, a billion. Who knows what that's going to be? But we'll love all the numbers that we're kicking around. But let's first start talking about the convention center expansion. And if you haven't been down to 4th Street, 5th Street, 6th Street to see what's going on there, Julie, talk to us about what's happened and when, all the things that are cascading forward.
Yeah, so it's an extremely exciting project, and it's something that's decades overdue for our city in the urban core, as the mayor just said. Really, what I'd like to make sure that we understand is this is not really about an expansion, it's more of a reinvention of the convention center. The expansion will come down the road, but until you can actually expand your house, you have to clean up your house, to get that right. So this is going to be an 18-month project. So we're right in the middle of it right now. We broke ground on that project back in July. So we got the rest of this year to go, and then we're ready for business in January 26th, so just about a year from now. We'll see that come online. It's a $240 million project, and really it's going to transition and transform the way that we as a city are able to sell conventions, sell events, bring those to Cincinnati, and continue to bring those over and over and over again. This reinvention of the convention center, and I'm going to use that word a lot because that's really what it is. A renovation, you think nice paint, new carpet, those types of things. This is a complete gutting of the convention center on the outside and the inside, and rebuilding it from the studs up. So it creates more flexibility for the meeting planners, more natural light. You might notice that the whole facade of the building has come off, and you're starting to see the steel girders that are going up. That would be the new outside of the building, with glass from floor to ceiling, and new roof, new spaces on the inside, more flexibility with the spaces. We'll take the exhibit hall and take that out to Elm Street to create a continuous plaza, and then across the street from that will be what's called the Elm Street Plaza, which is more outdoor space. That's really distracting. Maybe help.
Don't worry, it's the building heating up and the ice is falling off. We're not in danger.
Fair enough.
Yes.
So we're seeing post-COVID, a lot of meeting planners are requiring outdoor space, for their events and what they're doing. So that gives us an opportunity at the Elm Street space as well as the top plaza that we're doing. So it really is, a whole new opportunity, for Cincinnati, downtown Cincinnati in that district, coupled with the headquarter hotel, which will be across the street on 5th Street, connected by a walkway to the convention center. So those two opportunities and projects alone, about $800 million, going into that. But it's going to catapult us from sort of the middle of the pack of conventions and selling that to the top of the pack to be able to sell that. I mean, it's going to be the premier convention center in the Midwest, and we're awfully excited about it.
So Julie, what does, so talk a little bit about the Midwest, the competitive nature, and how this elevates us compared to those peers that you are competing, your sales team is competing against.
Well, I mean, first of all, we compete with every state in the United States for conventions. It used to be just, small, peer set, but in terms of comparison, we look at, Columbus, Cleveland, Indianapolis, Lexington, Pittsburgh, Charlotte, St. Louis to a certain degree. But we find ourselves up every day against major cities across the United States. And as the mayor was saying about the migration into Cincinnati, we're seeing that too with conventions. They want, more walkable, more manageable destinations. Costs are lower. Ease is easier to get around. So, but on a day-to-day basis, most often it's Columbus, Cleveland, and those cities that come up in terms of our competition.
You've chosen a developer for the hotel. You know me. I'm going to ask you if you can break news here. Do we have a flag for that hotel yet?
Well, we're working on that. Yes.
Okay, so you're not going to break that news.
But it will, we're not breaking any news, I don't believe, but it is going to be a well-known brand that we will be proud of. So it's going to be a flagship, and in addition to, world-class hotel facilities, we'll also have a relatively large conference center. And so while the the convention center is expanding, there will be even more meeting space for those larger conventions.
That's a good point to make, Mayor, because we're talking about building an additional 80,000 square feet of space connected to the convention center. So while, the net from the exhibit hall out to Elm Street is about 13,000 square feet, you've got the 80,000 connected across the street with two new ballrooms. So to the south.
So the timing is you're going to have the expansion, the reinvention, as you say, ready to start in January 2026.
Correct.
What does this year, though, 2025, look like for the city as a meeting destination?
Well, we are not out of the meeting business, that's for sure. We're just not using the convention center right now. So we have groups that are in 1 or 2 hotels looking at, doing their conventions. We have 2 major arts conventions coming later this year. The America for the Arts is one of them. It's a major anniversary for them. They're celebrating that right here in Cincinnati. So, a lot of meetings are continuing to happen, and we launched an initiative called Meetings Made Cincy late last year to really bring in the Midwest meeting planners, bring in the local meeting planners to show them the different venues that we have, the flexibility of those venues, the ease of those venues, so they can continue to hold their meetings, and even when the convention center opens, continue to have those venues thrive with their meetings. So it's a busy year for us. I'm sure lots of prep is going on, but there's meetings that are still happening. There's a lot of marketing, a lot of selling that we are doing outside this market to make sure that people know what's happening in Cincinnati. And as a result, our lead volume was up 43% last year. That's just with the convention center. Once we make the hotel announcement, we expect that to go even higher.
The only thing I would add to what Julie mentioned is, in addition to meetings, we're also full steam ahead on large-scale events. River Roots is coming this summer, which will be the first large-scale city celebration of the 250th anniversary of our country. It'll be tall stacks. It will be a kind of a music festival headlined, I believe, by the National Food and Wine as well. So a really cultural and civic celebration of the importance of the River Valley and specifically Cincinnati.
Timing of the headquarters hotel is?
Yeah, so the very first convention in the new space will be Reds Fest in January of 2026. We'll begin construction begin by doing some planning stuff on the headquarter hotel, probably November of this year, and should be finished, I think, by the second quarter of 2026, the hotel.
So I hope this isn't a planted question that you don't have enough information about, but Julie, are we going to get the Rotary International Convention to come to Cincinnati?
Doug, are we going to get the Rotary International Convention to come to Cincinnati?
My God, yes, we are! Let's see, we go to Calgary. Let's see, Calgary is the next one. Has the next destination been chosen? I mean, it's going to be 2029, 2030, or something like
Well, but
that.
I can tell you, with the new facilities, we have the capacity to host that now. Before we wouldn't have.
Right,
To do that. And so I mentioned the lead line that we have increased, and these are major conventions that are coming. These are people that are 15,000, 20,000 big conventions. Which was once in a blue moon that we would have conventions like that. In Cincinnati, mostly because of the size, and it was the quality of the hotels and all of those issues that go into selling. But just with the pre-selling that we're doing, all the marketing that we're doing, showing these important decision makers, what the opportunity is in Cincinnati, and then once you look at the ease to get here, the ease to get around, it sells itself. Once people are here, not to say that we don't work hard, we do, but I mean it's a much easier sell than it used to be.
Jeff, I know you were being uncharacteristically quiet about this convention center. As the chairman emeritus, you must be sitting back pretty proud of what's going to be happening. Chairman emeritus of the board of Visit Cincy, you must be pretty proud about what's happening.
I was the board chair for almost 4 years for Visit Cincy, and my priority when I was asked to lead the board was these external projects. And I just want to acknowledge that a lot of work went into putting us here, and I think it's fair to acknowledge. We had a terrible hotel. The Millennium was the convention center hotel, and it was really awful. And then we had uninspiring and no longer really workable facilities at the convention center. So Julie and the team at Visit Cincy worked hard to get in groups, but in a competitive environment, really the groups that we were drawing in weren't the most lucrative ones that a community would desire. They were going to other communities, our peers, as indicated. I always said Visit Cincy markets our assets. When our assets stink, like, you could be the best salesperson in the world, but dog shit is dog shit. Like, you can put a bow on it, that's what it is. And that's what our hotel was, and we didn't have a great convention center. So the county commissioners took a lot of heat, but I want to give credit. They worked out a deal to acquire the Millennium and knock it down. That was a barrier because why invest in the convention center when you still got the crappy hotel? So getting that hotel out of there paved the way for them as a community, us to come together with the mayor's leadership and the county and the business community to figure out the solution for a convention center modernization and then a new headquarter hotel to the south across the street. Why across the street? Julie indicated, because that outdoor space over Elm Street going east is very valuable, and it leaves open the opportunity down the road to expand the convention center on the old Millennium site should the data support the investment and a return on the investment of future expansion down the road of the convention center. I think we all know that the travel industry is evolving, the business travel and convention industry is evolving, So we know that we need what we're currently doing, and it gives us an opportunity to evaluate how we do with these great assets that we're gonna have, the ability to go out and get, you know, bigger spending, pharma and medical and the kinds of conventions and conferences that are going to our peers. Let's see how many of them we can start to get to Cincinnati, what that does to hotel taxes, and maybe that gives us an opportunity to come up with a fundraising plan down the road to finance that expansion, should the travel and convention industry continue to evolve in a way that it makes sense for us as a community to make further investment.
Now, we have to make sure, this strategy is completely in line with protecting our urban core. Obviously, Cincinnati's 52 neighborhoods, and we care very deeply about the success of all of those neighborhoods, but how downtown goes, so goes the region. And particularly with remote work post-pandemic, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, we're still not back to the pre-pandemic numbers we were. And so in addition to taking underutilized office space and turning it into housing, and you look at the Macy's Tower, we're doing that, PNC Tower, hopefully the Carew Tower soon this year. In addition to that, making sure that we're also investing in tourism and events to get people here and have them stay here is critically important. And as Jeff mentioned, in order to do that, you have to have the assets. But when you take a step back and you see $4 billion for the bridge, 10 acres of reclaimed land directly west of the convention center, which could be a future opportunity to expand it that way. Application for caps on Fort Washington Way that's in and pending. All of those towers that I just mentioned coming online, and the $600 million investment into the convention center hotel. You're starting to see vibrancy and vitality coming back. And in fact, when we look at parking data, our numbers in the evenings and on the weekends are higher than they were pre-pandemic. So people are coming back. We just got to continue to work on that 9 to 5 period.
You touched on the Brent Spence Bridge project, and I don't want to spend, quite frankly, a lot of time talking about it, but it is in the context of the corridor, the 8-mile corridor that $4 billion is being invested in. Who wants to give us an update? Because for a lot of people, when you look at it, it looks like nothing is going on. But I know there's a lot going on. So who wants to talk about it?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. I mean, we have been working on the Brent Spence Bridge before we got the money, and certainly in overdrive since we've received the money. ODOT and KYTC are continuing to make sure that we're fulfilling all of the requirements of the federal government with respect to studies, environmental studies, etc. Because we have made some changes to the design in order to reclaim that land and make it actually workable for, not just the next 10 years, but, potentially the next 50 years, where we're trying to minimize the footprint and design it in a way that we think we'll be able to grow into. And all of that takes a little bit of time. Now, a lot of people are worried about the change in the federal administration and how that will impact these large bridges and infrastructure projects. Everything that I'm hearing out of DC is that all of those projects are safe and moving forward. And so we don't expect the timeline to be impacted. Once shovels hit the ground, it will take about 7 years for it to be completely finished.
And I would just offer again appreciation for ODOT and the partners in Kentucky, because the business community, neighborhoods, other civic stakeholders have been engaged in this process where they've actually listened, and there have been changes made to the design on the basis of local feedback. I think the mayor spoke well of trying to recapture 10 acres that currently is a part of the ingress and egress ramps and whatnot, and we're going to be able to recapture that in a way to do some potentially interesting developments around the convention center, and also sort of better connect to Queensgate, which is a really underutilized track. And as we think about creating jobs and bringing industry and whatnot in, we want to be able to do more in Queensgate. This bridge project has given us an opportunity to sort of reimagine what Queensgate could be as well. And again, kudos to our federal and state partners who have actually been listening in this collaborative process.
So Doug, can I just jump in just for a second here? So, the points that Jeff and the mayor are making, I mean, it goes back to tourism. When you think of these big numbers that we're talking about, that money has to come from somewhere. It's got to come from outside dollars coming in through the tax investment. So that's why we've invested that kind of money in the convention center district to be able to get those more lucrative conventions more often. And with the size of the center, with the hotel, we can now bring in 2 conventions at a time, whereas before we could only do 1. And these are major conventions that are going to bring 10, 15,000 people with them on expense accounts, spending money at our restaurants, at our special event venues and spaces and things like that. And these are thought leaders that are coming in, looking at Cincinnati, and looking at all the vibrancy that's happening, and saying, well, maybe I want to invest there. Maybe I want to live there. Maybe I want to go to work there. And it all starts with a visit. There's no question about it. And I think that nobody's moved to a community that they haven't visited first. And what they see, if they see the vibrancy, they see the energy, they see the collaboration, the commitment, and they feel like a sense of belonging, I can see myself here, then that's how that happens. And, you know, I've been to many conventions at many great cities, and really never left the convention center, but I got a good feel for the city just from the vibe and things like that. So you go back and visit, you take your family, and that's going to happen. And that does happen in Cincinnati, but it's going to happen more often. So, you know, how do we get to $7 billion? How do we get, you know, this? It's, you know, again, private investment is a good part of it, but the tax is so important to drive that for this community.
So speaking of seeing yourself, we can come back to Brent Spence if we want to with questions, but if you've not been to the BrentSpenceCorridor.com and watched the flyover, it's 1.5 minutes. It essentially takes you from Kyle's Lane all the way down to Cut in the Hill, across the bridge. You can see the current design all the way up to the Western Hills Viaduct. It is an awesome video that you can actually see yourself. You see the land that's being opened up for the potential expansion. If you want to get updates on what's going on with that project, they have a newsletter. They currently are saying they're 30% done with the design and doing a bunch of utility work. So we can come back to that, but I want to go on to another asset of Greater Cincinnati, and that is TQL Stadium and what's happening there, as well as the expansion of TQL Stadium and all of the land around it. Jeff?
Thank you. Well, we were very proud to open TQL Stadium in 2021. We actually constructed it during the pandemic. That was quite a period of my life. We had literally 0 revenue that year, and we didn't lay anyone off. We were able to open the stadium. I would just, with an invitation, I would like to invite everyone to come to a game. If you haven't been, I promise you, I say this all the time, you don't have to be a soccer fan. You'll come out 2 hours from arrival, walk out, and you'll say, well, that was fun, whether or not you're a soccer fan or not. TQL Stadium, a 1.5 years ago, won an award at the Global Football Summit, Global Soccer Summit, is the best soccer-specific stadium in the world. We beat Wembley, which is the home of the English FA Federation, and where the World Cup final was played in Doha, in Qatar, which I actually had an opportunity to attend a match there about a month ago. And it's a phenomenal stadium. But our stadium here in Cincinnati was rated the best soccer stadium. We're quite proud of that, privately financed with important public help from the city and the county regarding parking and infrastructure and some of the pieces around the stadium that make it work. When we decided to build a stadium in the West End, it was with a desire to be the biggest catalyst for economic impact. And we chose a neighborhood that over 75 years, through the decision to put I-75 through a proud neighborhood, the West End has seen disinvestment and decline. And then after I-75, to be fair, it's where policymakers that predate the mayor and me, concentrate a lot of low-income housing in a way that stymied the economic prospects of the people living in that neighborhood. When we decided to build a stadium in the West End, I always said, I went to all these public forums, and there was 2 groups of speakers. One group just thought that the stadium in the West End was a terrible idea, and almost to a person, none of them lived in the West End. And then the other group were the people from the West End who were scared of change, because change has only brought worse off conditions. And so I told our group, we're going to ignore that first group, because ideologically you can't change their mind. But we're going to meet the second group where they are, which is we're going to address their fear. We did a community benefits agreement, the first of its kind, and have slowly, not only have we over-delivered, but in the process consulted with the West End stakeholders throughout our process and now they are our biggest supporters. This next phase of our investment in the West End is about a $350 million private sector investment that the West End Community Council has unanimously endorsed. They showed up at the zoning hearing and everything, because their opinion is we like nice things in our neighborhood too, not just in Mount Lookout and Hyde Park and some of the other neighborhoods of town. So our investment is two 13-story buildings. One is a hotel, and one is apartments and condos with some office. Obviously, the commercial office market has changed materially, and so we've tried to evolve our plans in that way. There's a huge public space in addition to a lot of destination retail. All of this is from Central Avenue to the east. So if you think of sort of just north of our stadium, Central is where Police District 1 is on the south side of our stadium. Coming out on the north end, it's from Central to Central Parkway, bounded by Liberty on the north. So it's just in a pretty small area. It's about 8.5 acres, which is phase 1. We have begun demolition of what had been there previously, which was an industrial building, and prior to that was the Burger Beer site, like in Santa High School. I drink a lot of Burger Beer, but it hasn't been Burger Beer in a long time. So,
What is a burger beer?
Cincinnati Brewery. It wasn't the expensive stuff.
Okay.
It's sort of like Cutie Delight.
I grew up in Beaver, Michigan, I'm sorry about that.
So,
Was it like 3-2 beer? Was it like
it wasn't good. That's when we drank the church stuff. Anyway, but the community council has been supportive. The planning commission has endorsed this. We look forward to getting it underway with construction later this year. We've applied for what's referred to as a TBUD grant with the state of Ohio, Transformational Mixed-Use Development. Last year, the convention center modernization plan got one of these TBUD grants. We have applied for it. It's very competitive. If any of you are familiar with Cleveland, the Flats, they're trying to remake the Flats. The Flats development is applying for one of these big TBUD grants, so that would be an example of our competition. But because the cost with inflation and, we're trying to keep rents lower, so rising rents and price people out, make housing a real challenge. So in our P&L for the mixed use, we're trying not to have the rents so high. Yeah, that may pay for the inflationary costs, but it really limits the mixed income neighborhood that we're trying to create. So we've applied for one of these grants. Why do I bring it up? Because winning that grant allows us to unlock the investment and proceed. We hope to hear in January, later this month, with the opportunity to then be underway by year end. It's about a 24-month project. We would like to host the MLS All-Star Game in 2027, right around the time of the hotel and the convention center modernization, and so we're hoping to get underway pretty soon.
Excellent, thanks, Jeff. So as we were discussing today's topics at the table, Jeff said, I get the easy questions, Julie gets the medium questions, and all the hard questions go to the mayor.
Yes.
So,
It's in reverse order of salary, too. So.
The Chamber of Commerce thinks the arena should go where CET is or some other plot to the west. The bank's businesses think the new arena should go right where the current Heritage Bank Arena is. So where should the arena go, Mayor Aftab?
Thank you. Well, let me answer your question with a question, which is, how do we pay for an arena? I know that we are really excited about an arena, and I completely agree that we need an arena. The Chamber study that was funded in part by Jeff and Julie at CVB, as well as the county and some other passionate civic leaders, have, in my view, emphatically answered the first question, which is, do we need an arena? And the answer is emphatically yes. We are just getting worked right now by Louisville and Cleveland and Columbus You know, the fact that Cleveland has hosted the RNC, the NFL Draft, the NBA All-Star Game, you know, the fact that Louisville continues to get larger and larger international acts coming through Louisville as a standard operating kind of practice, we are just getting left behind. And it is in part due to a lack of hotel capacity, which we are trying to fix with the global hotel, but it is also in part because of an antiquated arena and the infrastructure there. And so, you know, initially, and Jeff and Julie will tell you this, I was somewhat interested in whether or not we could maintain an arena without an anchor tenant, because a lot of times arenas have an NFL or an NHL or NBA team that kind of props up the economics of it, but without that, would that be successful? And there's several, the study will point to several cities, including Kansas City, that have these world-class arenas that are economically viable and a driver for their local economy that do not have an anchor tenant. So the first question is yes, we need an arena, and we've got to do everything we can not to kick this down the road again, but to come together as a community, have a call to action, and decide, yes, we're doing it. And that needs to happen now. The second question is, how do we pay for it? The report gave a menu of options for the capital stack and streams of revenue, including a sim tax, a fee, a super TIF. There's a lot of different options out there right now, and so my plan is to work with the county and identify what is the best opportunity for us to put forth some public dollars in order to have some matching private dollars to make this a reality. Once we can get over that hard step, which I think will be the hardest, the least pressing question, but also an important question, is where does it go? I think the report pointed out two leading options, the first being, in no particular order, but the first being directly west of the convention center. There's trade-offs with both of these spots. If you go directly west of the convention center, the pro is that you're just catalyzing the $600 million investment. You're creating a fountain district from 75 all the way east to Fountain Square. We've got control of the Foundry, we've got control of Saks, we'll have control of the headquarter hotel and the convention center, and that will really catalyze what is kind of a dead zone in downtown right now, because we've invested so much in the West End, OTR, and the banks. The con, though, is that the Red Express Bridge is about 30% designed from designing the construction phases. They will be at 100% at the end of this year. And so it's not clear to me when that pad will be available for pre-development. I don't think we can wait 7 years for the construction of the bridge. So that timing is a critical piece and probably the biggest negative for that space. And then the other one is the CET site, which would be, again, catalyzing the investments in OTR. The West End has been very clear that they want more market rate investments for not just housing, but also businesses. But the challenge there is the site isn't entirely under the city's control, and so there's some variables there for getting control of the site. But I think those are two fantastic options that make sense. I know there's a lot of leaders in the community that want us to invest in the banks and the current site. You know, the study just doesn't think that that's realistic. Although, let me be clear, no decision has been made on a site. I first want to figure out how we pay for it.
Can I add?
Absolutely, yep.
I 100% thank the mayor for his leadership on this, because as chair of Visit Cincy for the past few years, I made the point that I said here earlier about we can only market the assets we have, and one of our underperforming assets is an arena that opened before Jimmy Carter was elected president and has not seen any material investment in over 25 years, and continues to decline in the number of events it's attracting and the economic impact from the arena. Fortunately, there was the political support and the civic support to do the arena study, and I made the point, you know, the chamber is well credentialed as a civic leader institution, and let's see where the study comes out. And it was quite clear, the takeaways, as the mayor indicated, we do have to address this. 25 years ago, this community opened now Paycor Stadium, and 2 years later knocked down Riverfront Stadium. Riverfront Stadium was deemed obsolete in the 1990s after opening in 1970. The current arena only opened 5 years later in 1975. And I would offer all of us who live here know that the arena's been obsolete for over 20 years. Riverfront Stadium, we knocked down over 20 years ago. And we all have to acknowledge that we as a community have failed to address the pressing need on an arena. And let's also be honest about why. Because there's a lot of bad taste in people's mouth around sports facilities because of feeling that how the two stadiums on the riverfront was handled was not ideal or maybe in the interest of the taxpayers paying the tax. And so if you're an elected official, and I'm a recovering one, you stay away from talking about building new sports facilities. Because, yeah, I'm not going there. Having said that, we've just kicked the can and ignored it. And now here we are, it's not 25 years, it's now 50 years, and it's obsolete. And anyone who was a part or had family or friends going to Taylor Swift know the energy from these big entertainment acts and the economic impact that they bring. Look at Blink. Blink obviously is not in a venue, but when you have these big world-class events, it helps the brand. That's why we're so excited about Sundance, because it says something about a city that's on the move, a city that's growing, a city that's welcoming, that allows us to compete for talent. Anymore, a lot of young people with choices pick the city and then look for a job in the city. And we need those companies and those young people looking seriously at Cincinnati and saying that we are investing and we are growing. We've covered a lot of that here. But the arena is a key cog. You can't say that you're a city on the move when out of the top 50 cities in the country, we have the worst arena. Think about it. That says you're a loser. That doesn't say that your city's a winner. And so it's time to address it. And let me go further on with respect to the taxes and how this thing gets paid for. There's no way that this needs a new tax on local residents, like a basic tax. No one's talking about raising the sales tax or the earnings tax or anything like that to pay for the arena. It's going to be public-private at a much greater percentage than what was happening on the riverfront. There's private people who have contacted me, funds and others, billionaires who would love to invest in an arena because they work in other cities, even without an NHL or NBA tenant. So the notion that this is going to fall all on us is mistaken, and it's for fear to try to get people to not do this. Lastly, I think we can all agree, and as the guy who got the Banks Working Group underway back when I was on council, the Banks is a disappointment. It's not what it was intended. It's not. And the Banks Working Group, which is the group that we created when I was on council with the city and the county, hasn't really done its job that well. It's run out of energy. It's led by a lawyer, not an urban planner, not a visionary, not a developer, a lawyer. He builds well. And so it's time, again, give credit to the city. The city and the county have put together an RFP for a new urban study of the Banks. Why am I bringing this up in the context of the arena? Because the site that Heritage Bank is on is prime real estate, and we need to get more out of it than we're getting now, whether it's an arena or likely not, because the study said it's too expensive, it doesn't work, the modern arena doesn't fit there, all these other things the study concluded. But regardless, we do have people who have invested their livelihoods in apartments and small businesses and restaurants and bars on the bank, and it is an important recreation and entertainment district in this city, and it needs to do better. So just to be clear, at least as one civic leader, I'm not suggesting that the arena gets moved and we just let that sit and not be in some way leveraged to improve the Banks. We need to improve the Banks. Regardless of where the arena goes, this community needs to decide what is the future of the Banks, who are the appropriate leaders on behalf of our public stakeholders, the city and the county, and let's get moving on a better plan, more vibrant destination with housing and other things for the Banks. And I think if we commit to that, there were people down there that yesterday said, geez, we don't want to lose the arena because they think that that's it. And we need to do better by them in this community.
Thanks, Jeff. Let's go to your questions. We only have a couple of minutes before I need to turn the program over to Eric, or he'll kick me off the ever doing this again. Questions, keep your questions to about 15 seconds. giving my former president of this club and district governor the grace to make a comment. Be very brief.
Comment is it's time for you to get started for the Rotary International Convention, because Calgary, and then we're going to Taiwan, and then we're going back to Honolulu, and then it's going to Minneapolis. So you got a couple years over here that you can get this in there, but you need to apply for it now.
Awesome. Great. Other questions? Who else has a question? Yes. You're the only I can count on you for a question.
This is probably a stupid and naive question, but we've got arenas at Xavier and at UC. Is there any way to share space with them?
I can speak. I'm on Xavier's board, so let me offer, in most of the communities, you would have the university arenas are in the 10,000 or so capacity. We're talking about an 18,000 capacity. I think what we would look to do with a new arena is the operator would go and talk to UC and Xavier about whether it's the crosstown shootout, or maybe when Xavier's playing a UConn or a Villanova, or UC's playing Kansas as they are on Saturday, that you're going to have the bigger events in addition to March Madness, conference tournaments, things of that nature.
Any other? Okay. Last question. President-elect Ed Mathis.
Thank you for being with us today. My question, with all the developments going on, I'm in commercial real estate, so it's awesome. I'm happy to see it coming. But we're hearing a lot of restaurants that are like legacy restaurants are closing. Do you see any way that we can keep those people going along with the new development coming? Have you made a plan to try to incorporate all that in? Thank you.
It's a really important question, and that's why I've been, in my earlier comments, so focused on how do we fix the 9 to 5, particularly during the week, because not all the restaurants you're talking about, but a lot of them rely on that lunch crowd in order to make sure that they're meeting their margins, which, if anyone has worked in the restaurant industry, you know that it's razor thin. During the pandemic, we were able to support our local restaurants, nonprofits, arts organizations through PPP grants. Unfortunately, a lot of those federal dollars have now expired. And so what we tried to do from a city perspective to support not just our restaurants, but all of our hospitality community is exactly what we're talking about, which is driving significant dollars and investments into our urban core in order to maintain that traffic and patronization. But of course, we also try to work with individual restaurants to the extent there are grants or tax breaks that we can provide as a short-term help in order to keep them in business. I will say that, sadly, several restaurants have closed recently, but there's a lot of restaurants opening on the horizon as well. And so some of it is the churn of the restaurant industry, but there's no doubt that given the macroeconomic factors in our country, restaurants across the country are really squeezed right now.
You all stay put, but and Eric's going to close things out, but will you help me thank them for a fabulous
Let's also thank past President Doug Bolton. Phenomenal job. So we're representing Cincinnati proudly. We want to give a token of our appreciation to you, which is a coin that I know Mayor Aftab has seen before, but on the one side is our beautiful skyline, and on the other side is the four-way test, which is our mission and what we're all about in Rotary. And as you take this, thank you for everything you do for Cincinnati. Thank you. And welcome to our new spot. Welcome to the view. They may have some extra time after, I don't know, or they may head out, but they have to go through you to get outside. So anyway, we're having a meeting next Thursday. Sign up by Friday at 5. There's a meeting immediately following for the four-way speech contest. Have a great week. Thanks.
Everybody loves that side. Next to me, when the lights aren't working, it's like we really hear about it. Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Of course, appreciate it. Battling beavers. That's right. That's right. No, I heard that. Not to. This is gonna be. We were there. Well, my wife's been there twice. I was there once. Just a big open meeting. Okay.